Ayrton Senna and Gerhard Berger, the men currently sharing the front row of the grid for the British Grand Prix, arrive in some style for the second day of practice. For lesser mortals, the transport isn't quite as luxurious, but we won't worry about that, John. What do you reckon to that first day of qualifying?
Well, we've seen the McLarens back in the front row again, and the most unhappy man, of course, yesterday was Nigel Mansell, who had been so impressive during the test 2 weeks ago. He complained about his Ferrari engine being very much down on power, and he's been complaining bitterly. Ferrari say they've got the root of the problem sorted out, and he expects to be in pole position, but really more importantly, he's hoping that he's going to be the first man across the finish line on Sunday, and if he can do that, there's going to be an awful lot of very, very happy race fans here on Sunday afternoon.
Well, I reckon if People Power's got anything to do with it, Nigel's got this race sewn up. Everybody I've spoken to here has been really rooting for him. But before we move on to the battle for pole position, I'm going to move on up to the air traffic control tower to see how they handle this helicopter operation.
Well, Matt, get on your Eurostar bike and just go.
Silverstone for a British Grand Prix will know the problems of traffic. Queues of 4 or 5 hours aren't unusual. The clever, albeit expensive way of getting around the problem is to come in by helicopter. Return fares start at around £200. David Ward, you're the senior air traffic controller here. You say it's busy here on race day, but it's more than just busy, isn't it?
It's very, very busy, yes. I think it's the busiest controlled event anywhere in the world, as I understand. And we can expect in excess of 3,000 movements, all controlled movements, tomorrow on Sunday.
How difficult is it to coordinate all those movements?
It's fairly high pressure. I've got a very good team, experienced team doing it, and the load is shared by a total of 6 controllers and 2 assistants. Yes, we manage. It's a high pressure event, but I wouldn't say it's that difficult. We cope. I've done it now for the best part of 15 years. It's built up to the sort of levels we have now. Dominantly over the last 3 years, I think. We're certainly exceeding 3,000, possibly 3,400 movements now.
And people arriving by helicopter, is that becoming more and more popular at the British Grand Prix?
Yes, it became popular quite a long time ago. It's basically a traffic hopping exercise, and the idea is that you get in as close as you can by car without meeting the tailback, and most of the feeder sites are located just beyond the traffic tailbacks, the congested areas. So you'd literally, it's a hop over the traffic congestion. That's what it's all about.
Yes, well, the whirly birds coming to Silverstone. Very busy during Saturday and busy also down in the pits. And let's look at the championship standings. Senna with 35. Prost 3 points behind on 32. Third, Gerhard Berger, 25. Fourth, Nelson Piquet with 16, and Jean Alesi, he has 13 points. So too does Nigel Mansell, hoping to improve here. Thierry Boutsen is on 11 in 7th spot. 8th is Riccardo Patrese with 10. Nannini has 7, and Ivan Capelli has 6. In joint 11th place, it's the 2 Italians, Alex Caffi and Stefano Modena, with 2 each. Eric Bernard, Derek Warwick and Satoru Nakajima each have a single point. In the constructors' title chase, McLaren Honda lead with 60. Ferrari have 45, Benetton Ford have 23, Williams Renault 21 and Tyrrell Ford 14. And it's Leighton House with 6, Arrows with 2, Brabham with 2, LaRousse and Lotus with 1 each. Good news for the rising talent of Britain. McLaren and Autosport announced on Friday their Young Driver of the Year award would continue. Would it produce new talent?
Well, I hope so. The intention is to try and, for McLaren and Autosport, to give something back to the sport, and that's what this scheme is all about.
The 1989 winner David Coulthard talking to Ron Dennis. Had it helped his career so far?
So far, it's basically I can look towards the future, the end of this year, and the experience that I'm going to get from being involved with where I want to go, which is the top. So I'm going to be involved with the Formula 1 team for a short period, and I'm sure, apart from just the driving of the car, what I'll learn from how to promote myself and how to look after things away from the track is going to be invaluable.
Saturday morning practice, a huge crowd at Silverstone, and in the pits a royal visitor. It's the Duke of Kent sharing a joke with Riccardo Patrese and his guide around the circuit, Jackie Stewart. Out on the circuit there was plenty of action. This is the Brabham with Stefano Modena. This is Stoke Corner. Look what happens. The back end steps out. He spins, crash into the barrier and knocks off wheels and wings. And John Watson, your view?
Well, the way the car broke away so rapidly, I would say that was a rear suspension failure, Andrew.
Yes, well, an expert view there from John Watson. And a lot of damage to the car. Suspension damage. But that car will be repaired probably for Sunday's race. Look at the marshals already waving the yellow flag. But it's going to be an all-nighter for the Brabham mechanics. And there the car goes back to the pits.
Well, now it's time for our regular technical file. This week we're looking at engines, and when it comes to engines, few manufacturers more famous in Formula One than Cosworth. They're responsible for the Ford HB engine, which powers the Benetton team, and they're based just around the corner in Northampton. So Andrew Marriott popped down there to have a look round.
Yes, 15 miles to the east of Silverstone in the town of Northampton is Cosworth Engineering, the most successful manufacturer of racing car engines in the world. The new Costin House opened by Jackie Stewart, and there is one of the IndyCar engines on display in the foyer. Just behind the foyer is this lineup of Cosworth engines, many successful motors built over the last 25 years. But the company is not resting on its laurels. When we visited on Thursday, there was a brand new HB engine in the test cell, just being run in before it was being shipped to Silverstone for Friday's qualifying. The engine being power tested up to 10,000 revs. In fact, the motor will go to 13,000, but we weren't allowed to film the final bit of testing. The gauges flash on the HB engine now in its phase 4. Here's another engine waiting to go to Silverstone. And just look behind there, you can see how many engines they build of this one type for the two Benetton cars. But we talk to Dick Scammell, director of the Formula One programme.
Dick Scammell, you must be very pleased with the development of the HB engine.
Yes, it's now getting to be, in fact, really competitive, and we've done a lot of work lately, and I really can't see why in the very near future we shouldn't, in fact, be in front of some of the 10s and 12s.
You mentioned 10s and 12s, and some people think that's the only answer, but that's not Cosworth's view, is it?
No, right from the beginning we definitely sat down, looked at all the ways of doing engines, and we had no preconceived ideas about 8s, 10s or 12s, and engines in racing cars are compromised, and therefore we decided that we thought that an 8 would do the best job overall from a packaging point of view and everything else, and I think it's beginning to be shown that it's not a foregone conclusion.
What are the special benefits of an 8-cylinder engine over the 10s and 12s, then, Dick?
It's lighter, it's smaller, it actually uses less fuel, and it has in fact less frictional losses, and therefore it is not a foregone conclusion that the 10 or a 12 is any more powerful in the end of the day.
What's the relationship between Cosworth and Ford? We call this a Ford engine, but here we are at the Cosworth factory seeing them being built. Just explain the relationship.
Well, it's been a long time relationship, obviously right back to the DFV, and Ford then paid us to produce the DFV. They are now, in fact, we're a partner with them to produce, in fact, the new engine, which they are obviously funding for us.
Racing car engines used to rev to 10 and then it was 11,000, but we've just been watching a dyno there and they seem to go a bit more than that now.
Yes, everybody wants to run them as quick as they possibly can because that's the way to get power in the end. So we're all fighting the RPM up and up and up, and currently we're around 13 with our engine, 13,000.
Silverstone this weekend, the Mark IV version of the HB engine, that's got more power presumably.
Yes, it's got more power and it runs faster than the other engine did, and we're looking forward to racing with it because I think it will make a difference to the performance of the car.
Back at Silverstone, it isn't V8 power but V12 power, which gives Eurosport a unique look at the circuit. Let's join Eric Bernard in the Lola Lamborghini, and John Watson is your guide.
We're just crossing the start-finish line in 6th gear and rushing down now to Copse Corner, 4th gear, hard on the brakes, turning in and on the power immediately. Car running wide up the curb into 5th gear, 6th gear, through Maggott's curve, flat out in 6th, 175 miles an hour, and late braking now into Beckett's into 4th gear, again turning in and hard on the power, a bit wide on the apex there, Eric. Back to 5th gear, through Chapel curve and into 6th gear, now the fastest part of the circuit, the Hanger Straight, and getting up to 190 miles an hour before he has to dab the brakes into 5th gear and then flatten the throttle again through Stowe Corner, exiting somewhere like 170 miles an hour. Taking 6th gear now in the run down to Club and staying in 6th through Club. Very fast indeed this corner. Car drifting right over those rumble strips on the outside, and now coming up to Abbey, what really is the fastest corner, 180 miles an hour. The final little bit of straight before we come into this very slow and tight 2nd gear complex. Left, then right, and now accelerating again. 2nd gear, 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th gear, and finally back into 6th gear, and there you have one lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Time is nigh for the real business of the day. Coming up after the break, the final qualifying session for the British Grand Prix.
World champions McLaren is Ayrton Senna, who's going for his 47th pole position this afternoon. Well, Ayrton, talk to me about the tactics of qualifying.
Tactic in qualifying basically is to be there when it's clear the circuit, when you have the least number of cars out, so you have a smaller chance to get in traffic. And in sometimes is to be at a certain time during qualifying where the circuit is also better, giving something extra in terms of grip. Therefore, you go faster. I find very often people complaining about traffic in qualifying, and as well as I do sometimes, but I think I tend to complain a little bit less than most people about traffic. Obviously, it's because I get less traffic than other people, but is 1 hour there is the same, is open for anybody at any time, and why I get less traffic, I don't know.
But it's not a question of luck getting less traffic. You actually choose your moments to go out on the track? Do you know what is happening on the track in terms of traffic?
I don't believe much in luck, because luck can work towards to you 1 or 2 twice, but not consistent. So I think it's a question of choosing the right time to be out.
So when we see you sitting in the car and you're faced by the monitor screens, what are you actually reading there and what are you analysing there?
There are many things that you take in account before you actually come to something that you think is the answer. And therefore it's complex. It's simple and complex at the same time. It's not easy to answer, but definitely there are moments that you should, and there are moments that you shouldn't go out at all.
And the key to a fast qualifying lap, a pole position lap at Silverstone, what would that be?
At Silverstone you need a very powerful engine, because it's a fast circuit, high speed, long straights, and the power is fundamental here. You also need a very good balanced chassis, because the high-speed corners require a good balance from entrance, mid-corner, exit. So it's a difficult circuit, Silverstone. Difficult circuit, and in '88 was the first time I was not on pole here. In fact, both McLaren were second row after 7 races in the year. So it's a difficult circuit, particularly to McLaren chassis. We have good performance throughout the season in different circuits, but Silverstone is always the difficult one for us. And although we have good power, I think this year is going to be tough.
Well, he made pretty light work of it yesterday. In yesterday's opening time session, Ayrton Senna and his McLaren teammate Gerhard Berger, the 2 fastest drivers in that opening time session. 3rd fastest and a little bit frustrated in the Ferrari was Britain's Nigel Mansell, and he'll be desperately keen to improve on that in front of a huge crowd, his very loyal fans here at Silverstone. this afternoon. So a very competitive final time session we're in for. Maybe that first 160-mile-an-hour qualifying lap around this circuit will be seen this afternoon. We'll join our commentary team of James Hunt and Murray Walker.
Well, I wish I could speak Portuguese as well as Brazilian Ayrton Senna can speak English, and he is very much the fancied man for his 47th pole position in a Grand Prix here at Silverstone today. And there is Silverstone, sparkling. It makes you feel very proud to be British to be at Silverstone. The administration is superlatively good, the organisation is superlatively good, so is the marshalling. Everything is as it should be at a Grand Prix. And this is the last time that Silverstone is going to be seen in this form, because on Monday the bulldozers will move in to change the circuit most dramatically.
Yes, and a great deal of planning has gone into that to make Silverstone, first of all, a little bit more interesting for the drivers, slow the cars down a little bit with a few more corners for safety, and also a lot of thought has been given to contouring of the circuit to give it a little bit more feature. Being an old airfield, of course, Silverstone is very flat, like all airfields, obviously, and they're going to rectify this, so there will be a lot of bulldozing, and we look forward to seeing the finished article next year, and we all believe and hope that it's going to be improvement. In the meantime, today we have, as Murray was saying, Silverstone certainly need to be coping very well, because we had yesterday what I think certainly far and away the largest Friday crowd that I've ever seen for a Silverstone Grand Prix, and they really seem to be piling in. There are the practice times so far, the qualifying times, and we have the stage set for a very exciting final hour of qualifying, where you see there the top four cars all covered by 7/10 of a second there, or 6/10 in fact. Two McLarens, Mansell and the Ferrari. Expect Prost to be very keen to join that top four group in qualifying, and of course it is, as Senna said, difficult for McLaren here. Their chassis is not as happy at Silverstone as it is at most other circuits, and Berger, of course, is giving Senna a very good run for his money within the team.
Yes, after yesterday, two McLarens at the head, followed by Nigel Mansell. That is Gerhard Berger in his usual somnolent position just before qualifying begins. Mansell third in practice yesterday, and not in the best of humours, one must say, because he reckons that the engine that he had yesterday was not as good as it should have been. And this, of course, is very much Nigel Mansell's circuit. It's given him some of his finest race successes, wins and second places. And after Mansell yesterday, we had the two Williams cars of Thierry Boutsen and Riccardo Patrese. Boutsen fifth and Patrese in fourth position. Alain Prost only sixth, but this morning in the, it's not unofficial practice, they call it untimed practice, used to, it's called free practice now. And Alain Prost was fastest this morning, and in a lower time than yesterday. And Jean Alesi was extremely quick this morning. There is the Duke of Kent and Jackie Stewart, 3 times world champion Jackie Stewart. And the Ferrari pit is where they are.
Right. Now, it looks to me as if the track is open, but there hasn't been a great rush to go out onto the circuit. I can hear a car on the circuit already, and that will be because the teams basically are using special sticky qualifying tyres for this session. A lot of the teams will have one pretty soft tyre, which isn't an out-and-out qualifier, the D compound of tyre, on which they can probably get 6 or 7 pretty quick laps. But and there is Greg Norman, the golfer, over here, no doubt preparing for the British Open next week. He's big mates with Nigel Mansell. They play a bit of golf together, and of course Jackie Stewart and the Duke of Kent doing their royal tour of the pits.
And Barry Sheene there as well, double world champion in motorcycle racing, now living in Australia. You just see his red shirt to the left of Greg Norman. So a very imposing collection there. And Steve Nichols was on the left, the new Ferrari designer, and that is Satoru Nakajima, the Japanese driver, who has gone extremely well on this very fast circuit. He's one of the drivers who's using Pirelli tyres, and he was the second fastest Pirelli user yesterday, second to his teammate Jean Alesi, and Nakajima was 12th.
Yes, going back to what I was saying, that there will be some not a lot of activity on the circuit. It tends to be rather explosive when people are ready to do a quick lap, because they've got a lot of people will be using this semi-qualifying tyre, on which they can probably do 2 runs before the tyre has had it, and that'll be quite quick. And then for their other set, they're only allowed 2 sets of tyres, and they're marked so that they can't swap them around. And for the other set, they'll be using an out-and-out super sticky qualifying tyre, which will overheat after 1 lap, so they'll get 1 very fast lap on that tyre. And tactics are supremely important for this. And there's Riccardo Patrese just crossing the pit road, and there's a lot of timing involved. Now, Patrese is not in his car because he's only got 2 or 3 laps that are going to count, and he's got an hour to do it in, and all the drivers will be trying to look for when there are not many cars on the track and they can get a clear run. So Riccardo Patrese just watching the track now with his team, as will all the top drivers be doing, looking for the clear and the right moment. And the other qualifying tyre, as I say, it's a 1-lap special, so it's essential that you get a clear run, and half the battle, or even more than half the battle, is positioning yourself on the track, so that when you decide to go for it, for that 1 quick lap, Pierluigi Martini, also on Pirelli tyres. Well, they've got a pretty good qualifier, and he looks to be on a quick one. Martini looks to be, and there's Thierry Boutsen sitting in his pit, also looking the usual trick, looking for when there's a clear track. But Martini's been quite clever, because right now the track is very clear, and I'm surprised not more people have gone out. And Martini, well, no, he was building up. That, in fact, well, I say building up, that was a 1:11.3, his quickest of 1:10.6. So Martini, hopefully on these tyres, will get another lap, and this should be quicker.
Yes, you're watching Thierry Boutsen now in the Williams pit. We have some new high technology at Silverstone this year, which enables us to look right into the pits of the major teams, and the fastest time that we have so far is Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi with a Ford DFR engine. Now, as Patrese talks to his pit people, I can tell you that Martini next year hopes to be driving the Minardi with a Ferrari engine, because Ferrari are allowing Minardi, and this is historical. There is Martini, and Ferrari have never before allowed anybody to use their Formula One engine, but they're going to next year, and Pierluigi Martini, being passed by one of the Dallaras, is hoping to drive it. Nigel Mansell explaining to the Duke of Kent how his Ferrari or semi-automatic gearbox works. He's demonstrating there with his left and right hand the levers that are underneath the steering wheel rim. There is no well, there is a conventional clutch, but it's only used for getting away in first gear at the start. And thereafter, the drivers, Prost and Mansell respectively, it was Berger and Mansell last year, change gear merely by flicking one of the levers underneath the steering wheel rim, and electronics and hydraulic pressure do all the rest. Now, here is Andrea De Cesaris, of whom you have heard quite a lot from us in the past, and he's out on his own on the circuit, trying to improve on his previous time, which was 1 minute 11.7, and that put him in about 24th position. Alain Prost, the world champion, three times a winner for Ferrari this year, and second in the World Championship, having won in Brazil and Mexico, and of course a brilliant victory in his own home country of France last weekend. It's very unusual, incidentally, to have Grand Prix on 2 consecutive weekends. This is Alessandro Nannini, the Italian, who's only in 11th position at the moment as a result of yesterday's time. And Nannini in the race is going to be using a new Series 4 Ford V8 engine, which is not being used unusually for qualifying. which is going to rev up to 13,000 RPM and generate a lot more horsepower. I'm mildly surprised personally that that engine is not being used at least as a check during practice, but it's not. So Nannini, who might have been higher up on the grid had he had the more powerful engine, as Piquet would too, his teammate, is going to be starting with the new Ford V8 tomorrow. He's being borne down on by Stefano Modena in the Brabham with the new transverse 6-speed gearbox for the first time, and Modena is the man who went off very badly this morning, but is okay.
Yes, that's right. So Modena will probably be setting up the spare car. That'll be the spare car he's in, checking that out. So he may have a slightly harder set of tires to do a few laps first. And Modena has done a few laps this morning, has not improved his yesterday's time of 1:11.07. But he'll be probably just checking the balance of that car. And he appears to have slowed down right now.
Only one man so far this afternoon, after 10 minutes of practice, has improved on yesterday's time, and he needed to, and that's JJ Leto in the Monteverde Onyx. And he and his teammate Gregor Wojtek, the Swiss driver, are both out of the race so far, 29th and 30th. And just in case you're not clear about the positions after yesterday's qualifying, let me tell you that Ayrton Senna was fastest with his teammate in the McLaren second fastest, Gerhard Berger, and that's Gregor Wojtek, the Swiss driver, going into the pits. Nigel Mansell was third fastest, Patrese was fourth fastest. All those four, as you can see from the caption, beat last year's pole position time. But down in the pit lane we have McLaren tester Jonathan Palmer for news from the pit lane.
Yes, I think it's just worthwhile pointing out just why we haven't got all the cars out straight away. Generally, after the morning's practice session, which finished an hour and a half ago, maybe an hour and 40 minutes ago now, the teams have had a lot of work to do. And for many of them, they won't actually have finished that work. They're still maybe changing gear ratios, possibly even changing an engine. And for many of them, it's going to be perhaps another 15, 20 minutes before the car will even be ready. For others still, they may like to see how the track conditions look. The track is never consistent, really, from one session or even one day to the next. And by just having a look to see what sort of lap times generally the midfield or slower cars do, the front-running teams can get a better idea of just what they could perhaps achieve.
12 minutes into qualifying, 48 minutes left, and I'm pretty sure there are going to be some changes at the top. Here is Olivier Griard, the Frenchman, in the Osella.
Well, the track is extremely quiet at the moment. There's hardly any cars out running on it, and if I was looking to improve my qualifying time myself, I'd be hoping, if they got my car ready, as Jonathan says, they could well be still working on it from findings in this morning's free practice, where there's a lot of technical work done on the cars. And that is the only car on the track now. This is a perfect time for the quick men to get out there and get a clear run, because okay, they want to see how quick the track is, but the track for sure during this session is not going to get faster, because there is not a cloud in the sky, and heat is the biggest factor in determining the speed of the track. The wind is consistent today. That is Michele Alboreto in the Arrows being checked, and that is checking that he's got the right tyres on, his marked tyres. You remember I said earlier we had 2 sets of tyres per car, and they're marked, and those marshals there were just checking that he was on his proper marked tyres. There's Ayrton Senna's back view, looking at the screen, the readout of times, and cogitating his qualifying run. But as I say, I see no reason to suggest that the track will get quicker during the session. Rubber on this track doesn't help a lot, and there's the Leighton House car of Ivan Capelli, who so nearly won the French Grand Prix 1 week ago. Marvellous performance, tremendous revival to form by the Leighton House team. And really, I think that this is the time to be out on the track qualifying, if at all possible. And I am very surprised that we haven't seen a Prost or a Mansell or one of the top men taking advantage of this extremely clear track, which at the moment is only doing its best to send us to sleep.
Yes, last week in France, the Paul Ricard circuit, Ivan Capelli, as James said, very nearly won the race against everybody's expectations. All sorts of involved reasons in terms of personnel, but basically the fact is that the Leighton House car, which is powered by a Judd V8 engine, has now got, and both Capelli and Gugelmin have got them at Silverstone, revised chassis, which is much stiffer. Alboreto doing a bit of rally crossing. He's gone off the circuit and onto the grass and should have no trouble getting going again. And as well as the stiffer chassis, yeah, you could. Look at the under tray at the back of the march. You can see that there are 5 tunnels, a concept which was inspired and developed by the McLaren team. And several of the other teams, several being Leighton House and Lotus, seem to think it's a good idea as well, because they have now got exactly the same setup with the diffuser, as it's called, at the back of the under tray, which helps aerodynamics. And this circuit, Silverstone, which is almost bump-free and very smooth, should suit the Leighton House cars as well as the Paul Ricard circuit did.
And Capelli looks as if he's built up his tyres, got them all warm, and is on a quick lap. This looks like an attempt to improve his time. And Capelli's time of 1 minute 10.691 seconds yesterday is not as good as he would have hoped after his Ricard form at the French Grand Prix, but certainly better than their previous form this season. They had a dramatic improvement in the car. So he's got a 10.91 to 10.691 to beat. Club corner, which is very nearly flat out, 170 miles an hour through that corner, and it's not flat out. The car is hugging to the road, absolutely on the limit. Now heavily onto the brakes, coming under the bridge into the new complex, right down to a low second gear, slowest point of the circuit, and now on full power to complete the lap. And Capelli improves. Capelli improves by very nearly 1 second, and that moves him up to 11th on the grid at the moment. Now, let's see if we can work out whether Capelli was on out-and-out qualifying tyres, the E compound, or whether he was on the D soft race tyre, which is a sort of intermediate. It's not really a race tyre. They couldn't race it. Yeah, but they can use it for a qualifying run. And there is Ayrton Senna, and it looks like he's getting dressed for work, because you don't wear those great thick overalls, and Prost in his car already. So the top men are now beginning to, they finally spotted they got an empty track, but if they all go out at once, they won't have an empty track. So some of them, we'll see whether they've missed their chance or not. Prost looking imminent. Senna putting those great thick overalls on, and on a day like today you don't wear them for any longer than you have to, because the top layer of the overalls there, you see Senna just doing them up, are 3 layers thick, and of course their job is flame-proofness on the outside there, and then insulation inside. So it's like wearing an eiderdown on a nice pleasant day like this. I'm sure you'd all like to be wearing eiderdowns at home today.
So then he's still got to put the very hot balaclava helmet on before he puts his crash helmet on, and then the thick racing gloves before he eases himself into the cockpit, does up the 6-point safety harness over the shoulders, round the waist, round the thighs. And now Alessandro Nannini is stepping things up. He's just gone round, a bit slower than his time yesterday, but he's on a quick lap now. And Jonathan Palmer has news for us.
Is it just worthwhile mentioning that for qualifying, the McLarens, like many of the cars, changed the aerodynamics slightly, changed the bodywork, particularly the cooling. Obviously only 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the outside laps are required, and the exit ducts from the radiators each side of the car now carry a full plate down the side of the car. This increases downforce. It will make the engines overheat after just 2 or 3 laps, but that won't be a problem, we hope.
4 out of the 30 drivers who are to take part in this qualifying session have improved their time so far. Leto in the Onyx, who is still 29th. Griard in the Osella, who is 26th. Nigel Mansell talking to Greg Norman. Martini is now 14th. And in 11th place is Ivan Capelli. Now, there's Tyrrell, and here is Alain Prost. There are 4 Ferraris here at Silverstone, 2 each for world champion Alain Prost that you're looking at. And when you're watching the race tomorrow, you'll be able to identify his Ferrari in comparison with Nigel Mansell's by the fact that on both the front aerofoils and the rear wing, there are those yellow flashes. Alain Prost gently working up. He won't give it the gun until he comes out of Woodcote, crossing the start and finish line at just under 180 miles an hour. Seems incredible, but that is it. So he's building up now. We've still just got those 4 men. Capelli is the only man to have improved his position so far. He is now, as I told you before, in 11th place.
Right, now we'll see Prost just starting a flying lap around Woodcote, there over the start-finish line. And sparks flying, so it looks like Prost. Yes, Prost is on a quick one. Oh, by the body language of the car, over the curb. Sparks, they run the car, remember, as low as possible, as close as possible to the road. There are metal skids on the car making those sparks to protect its tummy, but a lot of the aerodynamic downforce as well as the efficiency. Ayrton Senna is watching that red box there that he's looking at is the printout little TV monitor screen that shows him what everybody else is doing in terms of lap time on the track. And Prost is certainly trying. Prost using all the road and more, using the run-off curves at every corner so far, through Club Corner, over 170 miles an hour, up on the curb. So car well out of the way, and this is an electrifying performance by Prost. We don't know what his time is going to be yet, but whatever it is, it won't be slow through lack of effort. We don't often see Prost driving just as aggressively as this. This is a particularly aggressive a performance by Alain Prost, and a 1:08.7, and that is quicker than he went yesterday. So Alain Prost improves, but well, he improves his time and moves up to 5th on the grid, only 1 place, although he was 0.4 of a second quicker. Now there is Gerhard Berger going out, and remember, they will do a very slow lap. If they're on the full qualifying tyres, these drivers, the lap that they go out on will be very slow. They don't want to slide the car at all. Because these tyres come in very quickly, and it doesn't take long to overheat them, at which point they go away. So what he'll be doing is just literally the movement through the tyre, plus the preheating given in the garage. There's Mansell getting ready as well. Now it's starting to happen. And Berger, with just the movement of the tyre, will bring the heat up, and he'll only boot it through the last corner of the lap. Now, he'll slow down looking for position, and there's Nannini on a quick one, and Berger just making room for Nannini. Nannini looks to be trying, but he's got himself a bit of traffic, and he's at the mercy of the other drivers to see him and get out of his way. And sometimes they don't even want to. Now, there's a problem in front of him. Has he seen him? Yes, and Nannini's all right because that's completely flat. That looked like Prost's Ferrari on the right, and Mansell getting into his car. So Prost slowing down, cooling his tyres. He's had a go on his quick lap. Now, let's see what Nannini stops the clock. Nannini's all... And Nannini has improved his time, but only by a couple of tenths of a second, 1:09.7.
Ayrton Senna has an uncanny ability. You're looking at his teammate Gerhard Berger, who is second at the present moment on the grid, and Senna has the most incredible ability to pick his time to go out. You heard him talking earlier on about what his tactics are. Well, now he's going to be watching Gerhard Berger's time, because Berger already this year has had pole position at Phoenix and pole position at Mexico. He is very real opposition for Senna, certainly in qualifying circumstances.
And watch Berger, he doesn't pull his punches. He's quite a messy style of driving. He really attacks. He throws the car at corners. There we are, using the run-off curb. And Berger, not only does he drive very much on the limit, he always looks on the limit. He's exciting to watch. Relatively smooth through Stone Club, but then you have to be at Silverstone at 170 miles an hour. The car needs some pretty fine balancing. Now, into the complex. Now, that's very Berger style. You see him chucking the car at the corner there. And Berger and that does not improve his yesterday's time. Berger some half a second slower than he was yesterday. But it'll be interesting to see if that was his set of really sticky qualifiers. There's Ayrton Senna in the car, still watching, still waiting for the timing. He may just hold back for a moment because there's probably a little bit more traffic on the circuit than he would ideally like.
Here are the people who have improved their times. Alain Prost is 5th now. Capelli has improved his time and is 11th. Nakajima has improved his time, still in 12th position. Ayrton Senna is almost on the move out of the pits. Martini has improved his time. Derek Warwick has improved his time, but not by very much, and actually, paradoxically enough, has gone down a place as a result of improvements above him, notably Nakajima. Gugelmin is faster than he was yesterday and is now 17th on the grid, as the man who holds more pole positions than anybody else in the history of Grand Prix racing gets ready to improve that number by 1. And that number is 46, and the man who holds them, Ayrton Senna, is going out onto the track, and Jonathan Palmer will tell us about that.
And yes, we've got two different setup plans here from McLaren. The car of Gerhard Berger we've just seen has had a low downforce setup, a single small rear wing, better for top speed, over 200 miles an hour that top wing, but less grip on the corners. We've seen what that's done on the times. Ayrton Senna, though, has opted for a higher downforce. He's got a larger rear wing made of 2 components. That will make him perhaps down to a mere 197 on the straight, or somewhere around there, but he should be a little bit quicker around the corners. We'll see how effective that is.
Now, Senna's real objective, as well as his 47th pole position here at Silverstone today, is ideally to do so at a speed in excess of 160 miles an hour average around this circuit, which is 2.96 miles long. Prost keeping a weather eye on his arch rival's progress. Now, the fastest lap ever at Silverstone, that's the monitor that the drivers see when they're put on the front of the car, and you can see that the lap times are punched up name by name and time by time as the driver completes a lap. Now, Keke Rosberg in the in a Williams Honda was the fastest ever around Silverstone at a speed of just over 160 miles an hour, but that was before the new and slower complex of bends just before Woodcote were put in. And Nigel Mansell has had the fastest lap including the new complex in the Ferrari test here at Silverstone, when he went round just about 157 miles an hour. But Senna can conceivably do it.
Yes, now here he is, the master of qualifying, supreme of all time, really, in Grand Prix racing. Ayrton Senna now boosting it over the start-finish line to start what looks very much like his attempt to improve on already his own provisional pole position. And through Copse Corner, looking down on the circuit, Senna up to the flat-out kink, and then hard on the brakes for Beckett's Corner, taken in 3rd gear, booting it out. Clear lap so far, traffic being the important thing. Now, as we look ahead of him down the straight, he's got nothing immediately in front, and Senna once again looks as if he's picked his lap very well. Now, through Stowe Corner, very, very fast right-hand corner, taking about 170 miles an hour, and then Club Corner just a little bit quicker. And Senna using all the road. Flat out through Abbey Kink, under the bridge, hard on the brakes for the complex, right down to a very low 2nd gear, much the slowest point on the circuit. Now, Senna booting it out. Let's look at the clock as he comes up to the line. Nope, and this is a slow lap by Ayrton Senna's standards. And here is Nigel Mansell. Now, Mansell was chasing him round that lap. Mansell's on a quick lap. So, Nigel Mansell. And Mansell crosses the line, and his time's being slow to punch up.
Now, Nigel is determined to be quickest for all sorts of reasons this afternoon. One of those reasons is that he's not at all pleased about some of the things that the press has said about him in the papers today, and he's determined, having had a pretty sharp discussion with Ferrari this morning about things, to get up into pole position. He had pole position in France, and it was the first time he'd had it for 40 races. He's coming down the hangar straight now, behind Ayrton Senna. Senna in the V10 Honda-powered McLaren, and Nigel Mansell, of course, has got a V12 Ferrari engine behind him, producing in today's ambient conditions, which must be jolly nearly as hot as they were in France last Sunday, about 650, 660 horsepower. The cars, of course, are tremendously responsive. Nigel Mansell building up speed as he comes round Abbey Curve. He'll be flicking that lever underneath the steering wheel to take him down through the box. It's a 7-speed gearbox in the Ferrari, as opposed to a 6-speed box in the others. And for some reason, I know not what, Nigel Mansell has aborted that lap. If he was on qualifying tyres, which is very likely, and it may mean that he's only got one set left. And as Nigel Mansell rolls into the pit lane, Jonathan Palmer has been talking to Gerhard Berger.
Yes, I just had a word with Gerhard. Unfortunately, he's got the same problem with his gearbox that he had yesterday. He's having trouble shifting the gears, second and fifth, and the inside of the gearbox is now being taken apart, and that will inevitably mean perhaps a 30 or 40-minute delay.
And I'm beginning to think that the circuit is slower today than it was yesterday. So far, quite a lot of people have gone faster, but not, of course, the top men. Senna, Berger, Mansell, Patrese, Alain Prost faster than yesterday. And now we watch Derek Warwick in the Lamborghini-powered Lotus going out. And this is Riccardo Patrese. Now, here is a man to watch. He's going to be driving in his 200th Grand Prix tomorrow, the most experienced Grand Prix driver of all time. He's in the Williams car with a V10 cylinder Renault engine behind him. And Riccardo Patrese has never driven better than he's driving this season. In this morning's warm-up, he was very quick indeed, and yesterday in the qualifying 1 hour period equivalent to this one, he was third fastest with a time of 1 minute 0.677. He's been displaced by Nigel Mansell, who has moved up a place now. Third yesterday still, Nigel Mansell. So the grid order at the present moment: Senna, Berger, Mansell, Patrese fourth fastest, and there's his time, 1 minute 09121.
Yes, I agree with your idea, Murray, that the circuit's a little bit slower today, and you see Patrase's back right off now to cool his tyres down. And they've just done a tyre check there on Barilla's car as he goes out of the pits. They'll be tyre checking them all. There is Gerhard Berger. He's watching the screen and looking a bit dejected, looking at his car as the mechanics have a look inside that gearbox. But I think that he may well be expecting to have to depend on his yesterday time, but that was no disgrace by any means. Second quickest yesterday. And if the track is a little bit slower today, a little bit warmer, there is Derek Warwick. And Derek Warwick is on a hot one through Copse. Now, coming up to Beckett's corner, hard on the brakes, third gear, used to be the slowest corner on the circuit till they put in the very slow second gear complex. Oh, and drifting right out wide. Very important for Warwick, passing Barilla, who we saw who's just going out warming himself up after the pits just now. Letting the car run, use all the road. Through Club Corner, over 170 miles an hour. Through there. And through the Abbey Kink, which of course is easily flat, but not so in the wet. And into the complex now, with Warwick, he's looking at a 1 minute 10.092. Can he break the 1 minute 10 barrier? Looks promising. No. Well, look at that. So Warwick does... Yes, misses it by the odd hundredth or so of a second, and so Warwick fails to improve. And the fact that the top men haven't been able to improve up front as yet, and that the middle order men, those quite a few have improved, but most of them only by very, very small amounts, not much more than 3 or 4 tenths of a second. And that does indicate that despite the work on the car, improving their setup of the car, today with the big long hour-and-a-half session this morning, they are having great difficulty in improving yesterday's times, which suggests that the heat is making the track a little bit slower even than it was yesterday. The wind has a big effect here, and the wind is in the wrong direction for quick times at Silverstone. And there's Patrese just coming in to the pits, having done his run, but he didn't improve.
And in the seemingly slower conditions for the men at the top at the present moment, pole position for tomorrow's British Grand Prix is held by Ayrton Senna with yesterday's time of 1 minute 8.071. His teammate Gerhard Berger is still second, you can see his time. Mansell still third position in the Ferrari ahead of his teammate Alain Prost, who is sixth. The two Williams between the two Ferraris, Thierry Boutsen fourth and Riccardo Patrese fifth. The top V8 powered Pirelli tired car is Alesi, and then the Lola of the Japanese driver Suzuki.
Yes, and the most significant improvement at the moment of the top men is Boutsen near the front of the grid. Has improved his time by just about half a second to a 1 minute 8.6, pushing Patrese to fifth and Prost down to sixth place. So of the leading half dozen, Boutsen is the one who's made a substantial improvement. That's Patrese in the other Williams, who's also had a go, but was markedly slower. So Boutsen got away from us. He nipped out and did a quick one while we were looking at somebody else, and has disappeared off the circuit again, but he'll be out later.
Very important to both Patrese and Boutsen that they are the fastest in the Williams team. There's a very healthy rivalry between them. Boutsen was signed as the #1 driver, and Patrese has consistently outdriven him for the last 2 seasons, and there are rumours that Boutsen will be going to the Arrows team next year with Porsche engines. And more news from Jonathan Palmer.
Some news from Ayrton Senna. On about the second or third corner on his qualifying run, he realised he had too much understeer, which means the front of the car was sliding wide, and therefore he decided not to push too hard on that lap, but complete the lap in a reasonable time, come into the pits, and he is now changing the car, changing the setup. He was on pole, of course, or still is on pole, and therefore it was worthwhile taking a gamble, but now he's going back to another setup, so he should be faster on his next run.
Senna still in pole position, Berger second, Mansell third. Up to fourth position has gone Thierry Boutsen in the Williams. Down to fifth position, the man that you are looking at now, Riccardo Patrese, the experienced Italian in his Williams Renault. And that means to say, of course, that Alain Prost is now in sixth position. So it's 2 McLarens, a Ferrari, 2 Williams, and then another Ferrari, as it was when this session began. You can see the wheel on the right-hand side there in that blue wrapper. That is literally an electric eider-down, which heats the slick tyre. No tread on the tyre surface. You don't need any when the circuit is as dry and grippy as it is here at Silverstone today. But you do need the tyres to be as close to operating temperature as possible when you go out on the circuit. And that's why they wear electric blankets, which are left on until the very last second, when they are taken away and the driver accelerates out of the pit lane and onto the circuit. That's a McLaren. And now we're going round Silverstone with Eric Bernard, the brilliant Frenchman who made his Grand Prix debut in France last year and is an excellent 8th position in the Lola Lamborghini.
Yes, and he's just warming up. This is not a quick lap by Eric Bernard, very talented French driver, and he's just really starting to get to grips with Grand Prix racing. He was very successful last year in Formula 3000. And I dare say we're going to hear a fair bit more from Eric Bernard in the future. Now, he'll be building up speed to bring his tyres in. He's on new tyres. And at the end of this lap, we now have club corner to negotiate, followed by the complex, and then he'll be on full power and really giving it a go as he comes across the line to start what will be his flying lap. There you see his time from yesterday. No, I tell a lie. He's actually improved it today. And we had a disagreement between the caption and our readout of times, because we have him on a 1 minute 9.003. So there's a disparity of 0.4 of a second. Now, no, and Bernard has slowed down, something he doesn't like, so he's into the pits, and it may well be that he'd just done that quick lap and has used the best of his tyres, and it will be coming in. And I understand that the 1 minute 9.003, which has moved him into 8th place, a creditable performance, will now be the end of that set of tyres. He'll go into the pits, and he should, I would imagine, have one set left, which he will doubtless bolt on, but they may not be the full sticky qualifier.
You're still with Eric Bernard. This is, you saw a quick look at now. I was just about to say, this is a wonderful coincidence. The outstanding driver to me of the day so far is the man you're looking at the present moment, Jean Alesi, the quite brilliant French newcomer who's driving the Tyrrell with a very distinctive nose. You can see what looks like a walrus moustache on the front of it. In more technical terms, it is an anhedral wing, and the snout underneath that wing is lifted up in order to allow air to get underneath the car and improve the aerodynamics. Now, Jean Alesi is actually 4th at the present moment. He's just gone round in 1 minute 8.37, and that's an incredible achievement.
Yes, a quite outstanding time for a V8 engine, for the old style Cosworth V8 engine. It is by no means a modern engine and doesn't have anything like the power of the people in front of him on the grid, but certainly the Tyrrell chassis is considered to be probably the best in the business at the moment. And you see that dihedral wing that Murray pointed out, and the idea of that is to allow air to pass, as Mansell looks very much committed to a quick lap here. And that allows air to pass under the Tyrrell, and there's a big splitter under the Tyrrell, which creates a great deal of downforce. It creates a high pressure area on top of the flat piece of material, and that gives it its downforce in the middle of the car. Now look at Mansell, he is really pushing it. Nigel Mansell, so comfortable at Silverstone, loves racing here. Sparks flying from the Ferrari, running the car as low as possible, and quite a tight line into the complex there, getting in as quickly as he could. Now watch the clock as he goes through Woodcut to cross the finish line. This looks like a good one to me, and that is pole position by a long way so far for Nigel Mansell. What a fabulous lap. So Mansell goes ahead of the others by 0.6 of a second, and that will take a lot of beating, certainly by the two McLarens. We've seen Senna and Berger out on the circuit having a go, and this will require very much one of those really special Senna type laps if he's going to get anywhere near Mansell's time.
Hier mit dem gelben Helm, ob noch einen Pfeil im Köcher hat. Ja, da jubelt sogar. Hat sich gestern heftig beklagt, dass einen schlappen Motor habe im Vergleich zu Prost, und hat dazu die Geschwindigkeitsmessungen herangezogen, die Höchstgeschwindigkeitsmessungen. Tatsächlich war an der Stelle, an der die Höchstgeschwindigkeit gemessen wird, nur 14 schnellster, während Prost drittschnellster war. Prost 315 Kilometer in der Stunde. Am Ende der Hangargeraden Mansell 310, also 5 Kilometer in der Stunde langsamer. Und bei Start und Ziel, wo zum zweiten Mal gemessen wird, Prost Dritter gestern und Mansell Fünfter. 2 Kilometer langsamer. Prost hat gekontert, hat gesagt, die Autos sind unterschiedlich abgestimmt. Es muss nicht an der Motorleistung liegen, dieser Unterschied. Auf alle Fälle war gestern an beiden Stellen Berger der schnellste. Bei der Höchstgeschwindigkeitsmessung mit 321 Kilometer in der Stunde. Senna Zweiter 318 und bei Start und Ziel 276 Kilometer pro Stunde gemessen für Berger und Senna 275. Mansell nach seiner schnellsten Runde, die ihm vorläufig die Pole-Position bringt. Noch ist gut eine Viertelstunde zu fahren. Senna macht keinen Mucks. Wartet noch ab. Wartet noch ab, was die Konkurrenz tut. Wahrscheinlich auch sein Teamkollege Gerhard Berger, den er bisher im Verlauf der Saison gut im Griff gehabt hat. Berger hat zwar zweimal Pole-Positionen herausfahren können, aber Senna insgesamt 4-mal und immerhin hat Senna 3 Siege in dieser Saison zu verzeichnen. Gerhard Berger noch nicht. Gerhard Berger wusste, dass es schwer wird im Team mit dem Brasilianer, aber ob er geahnt hat, dass es so schwer werden würde. Thierry Boutsen unterwegs auf Zeitenjagd. Im Moment ist er Fünfter. 1 Minute 8,614. Eine Minute 8,291 hat Jean Alesi im Tyrrell vom 4. Platz verdrängt. Boutsen also jetzt Vierter. Hier die Einblendung. Mansell, Senna im Moment die erste Reihe, Berger und Boutsen die zweite, Alesi, Patrese die dritte Reihe. Prost, Bernard, die beiden Franzosen, der eine Weltmeister, der andere Newcomer in Reihe 4. Für Alain Prost sicher nicht das, was er sich wünscht für das Rennen morgen, der 7. Startplatz. Aber Prost ist der Mann, der nicht das absolute Risiko für eine Zeitenjagd im Training eingeht. Und wer sich an den Grand Prix von Mexiko erinnert, vor 3 Wochen, er war 13. Hier ist er im Bild, 13. und hat den großen Preis von Mexiko gewonnen. Der rote Kasten vor Senna, das ist der Zeitenmonitor, während Alain Prost ihn von sich aus gesehen links von einem Mechaniker hingehalten bekommt. Die Wärmedecken vorn und hinten auf den Reifen können Sie erkennen. Die Kabel werden gelöst, die Decken werden abgenommen und Nelson Piquet, der letzte Nicht-McLaren-Weltmeister 1987, der Brasilianer. Auch er probiert noch eine gute Zeit. Im Moment 11. Im Moment 11. mit 1 Minute 09,4 Sekunden. Sechster Gang hier, 290. Also an die Bestzeit kommt er nicht ran. Ein bisschen quer gestanden hier auch. knapp verfehlt seine bisherige Bestzeit. Bleibt auf Rang 11. Nelson Piquet im Benetton Ford. Ron Dennis, der Teamchef von McLaren, auch er ein Blick auf den Zeitenmonitor. Ich glaube nicht, dass er damit gerechnet hat, dass Nelson Piquet die Zeiten seiner beiden Schützlinge würde unterbieten können. Und Alain Prost. 10 Minuten noch. Das Training Alain Prost. Die Kontrolle, ob es die richtigen Reifen sind. Und Ayrton Senna rückt schon mal die Handschuhe zurecht. Gelassenheit bei Nigel Mansell. Immer zum britischen Grand Prix kommt sein australischer Freund.
The favourite will be back there for the 2:30, but here at Silverstone we've seen that stunning lap from Nigel Mansell, which gives him at least provisional pole position for tomorrow's Foster's British Grand Prix. We've still got 10 minutes left of final qualifying, and Mansell has really thrown down the gauntlet to the likes of Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna and Gerhard Berger, and this is Prost out on the circuit at the moment as we rejoin James Hunt and Murray Walker.
And here is Alain Prost with Nigel Mansell now in pole position, and Prost 7th on the grid, having to go for it and improve his position. Senna is 2nd, Berger is 3rd, Boutsen is 4th, Alesi is a brilliant 5th, Patrese is 6th, Alain Prost is in 7th position.
So there you see the current situation. Nigel Mansell has scorched round in 1 minute 7.5 seconds, just under 1:07.5, and really thrown down the gauntlet. Two McLarens failed to improve their yesterday time. Here is Prost coming to complete a lap, which is a warming up lap, and now I would think and there's Nigel Mansell. He's finished his work for the afternoon. There's nothing more he can do. He's done a super time. The others are now out to shoot at it, and Prost goes over the line to start what undoubtedly will be a very quick lap. He's got a slower car in front of him. He depends very much on the courtesy of that car. I can't see who it is at the moment, and it's one of the Tyrrells. It's Nakajima, and Nakajima very politely and correctly gave him the racing line. This is the big one for Alain Prost, because he won't be happy with his current position on the grid. He's 7th on the grid. He's got to improve that. He's got a time of 1 minute 8.7 to beat his own time, but he'll be looking to get it right down to the sort of 1 minute 8 dead or even less. Bouncing around, very stiff suspension. So Alain Prost now through the flat Abbey curve, just one double corners to go, the S of the little slow complex. Second gear. Hard on the power in the Ferrari. Way over the start-finish line. Let's look at the time, 8:3.37. Well, that is an improvement for Prost, and that moves Alain Prost up to 5th. Alain Prost 5th on the grid, and whilst he won't be thrilled, to him that's better than 7th.
You saw Senna sitting dispassionately in his McLaren, just biding his time, and we have now completed 52.5 minutes of the 60 minutes of this second and final qualifying session at Silverstone for tomorrow's British Grand Prix. With a very happy Nigel Mansell in pole position. Incidentally, on the left is Peter Windsor, the man who runs the Ferrari GTO organisation in Britain. At Guildford, a lot of Ferrari is made in Britain. Ayrton Senna almost nodding off in the cockpit. He has the ability to psych himself into exactly the mental state that he wants to be in to give his final qualifying lap his all.
7 minutes to go. Quite a lot of traffic on the circuit, and Senna must surely be thinking about going out now. He may just feel there's a little bit too much traffic on the circuit, and that will reduce before the end, but I would have thought if he went out and went very slowly so that he could find the gaps on the circuit, that would be no bad tactic. So the heating blankets coming off Senna's tyres. Those preheat the tyres, they're electrically heated blankets. And the tyres are close to their full operating temperature, so they won't need a lot of warming up. And if he's on full qualifiers, what he will be doing, he will be won't be siding the car on his going out lap. He doesn't want to scuff the tyres any more than he has to, because by booting it through the very last corner of his warming up lap, that will get the tyres right into their full operating performance, their optimum performance, and they don't last for longer than the lap, so you don't want to bring them in any earlier than you have to. So we have 6 minutes left, just under 6 minutes, as Ayrton Senna, tyres checked, goes rolling slowly out. He's not in a great hurry, and he'll be looking very carefully in his mirrors to check traffic on the circuit. And as I say, he'll be easing the car around quite slowly on this lap so as not to put any excess heat into his tyres.
Mansell, pole position so far, faster than yesterday. Senna, that you're looking at, second on the grid, has still not improved his yesterday's time, nor has his teammate Gerhard Berger, who is third, and we know had trouble with his gearbox both yesterday and today. Boutsen has improved both his time and his place, and is fourth. Fifth on the grid is Alain Prost, who may be going out again, but he'll have to hurry. Sixth is Jean Alesi, the top V8 car. Seventh is Riccardo Patrese in the Williams, who was faster yesterday. Eric Bernard and Suzuki are 8th and 9th in the Lolas. 10th is Capelli, 11th is Piquet, 12th is Nakajima, but we must watch and concentrate now on Ayrton Senna, who's on his build-up lap to what he hopes is going to be his 47th pole position.
Nigel Mansell, talking golf with Greg Norman, finished his driving for today, no interest in that, and he'll probably be straight off in a helicopter to do a few holes after practice. And not a bad deal having Greg Norman to caddy for you. So now Senna, this is it. Now full power out onto the circuit. Over the line, start the clock. So this is it for Senna. He's got one shot at it. And you see how sharp he threw the car into Cops corner. Medium speed right-hander. And the following Minardi was trying to follow him through. A lot of sparks had to lift right off, and Senna really gunning it. Beckett's corner. Didn't use all the road there, but of course he's got to move over for turning left through Chapel Curb. Now up to nearly 200 miles an hour with the tailwind down the hanger straight through Stowe Corner. The wind is working against them here, blowing the car off the corner and also through Club. Now Club Corner, over 170 miles an hour, fastest corner on the circuit. Right on the limit, and now, what can Senna produce? He's a magician when it comes to producing fantastic laps from apparently nowhere. And look now, the whole Ferrari team there watching the monitor. And Senna to complete the lap. And he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it. And that is a couple of seconds slower than Senna wanted. And surprisingly slow lap. Smiles on the faces in the Ferrari pit. They're happy.
Yeah, but Berger could do it. Gerhard Berger is out on the circuit as Ayrton Senna now with 2.5 minutes to go, as Ayrton Senna seemingly rolls down. He's going back to the pit now, but Gerhard Berger is on a really quick lap, and Berger has proved that he can take pole position because he was fastest in Phoenix and he was fastest in Mexico.
He's done, well, Berger's done one quick lap, but if he's on full qualies, that's not going to be a yes, and Berger has slowed right down. He did a 1.8.6. His final shot, they had to work on the gearbox. He's only just got the car out in the circuit, but so McLaren's a bit of a struggle, but they won't be too displeased with second and third on the grid. That is an extremely satisfactory tactical position from which to start the British Grand Prix tomorrow, because I don't think any of the other top men are going to improve now. They've all used their tyres, and they'll be happy with that, but they won't be very happy with the handling of their car and the way they went about things today, although of course the qualifying situation has very little relevance to the race tomorrow. Once it's over, it has relevance for the grid position, but as far as setting the car up is concerned, and I noticed that both Senna and Berger were working particularly on their race setup in the free practice this morning, and not doing what a lot of cars do at the end of it and have a check through the qualifying setup, which can be different because the softer compound changes the balance of the car. So they weren't working on that, which may explain their, by their standards, not their best qualifying performance, shall we say, today, but with second and third on the grid, and the work they've done this morning before qualifying on their race setup should stand them in good stead tomorrow. So, Mansell, an outstanding qualifying lap, tremendous stuff, which quite clearly absolutely thrilled Nigel himself. He's in tremendous form about it, and that will certainly have improved his mood. He wasn't a very happy bear so far this meeting, but that makes the sun come out pretty quickly when you can put in a blinder like that. Tremendous effort by Nigel Mansell. There is Prost out on the circuit. I think probably he'll be struggling to improve, and we have less than a minute left. We've got 45 seconds left. So if Prost wants to get in a quick one, he's got to get over the line in under 45 seconds from when I said.
So as you watch Alain Prost, let's go to the pits and join Jonathan Palmer.
Nigel, absolutely outstanding lap. It must have been a real heart-in-the-mouth job on many an occasion, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to redo it again, but I'm just conscious that it isn't finished yet. Someone could still pip us.
Well, I think you're pretty safe now. Any problems at all, or was there anything more left?
No, I mean, we've been working all weekend. Ferrari's done a fantastic job today, but we've still got a few problems with the top speed. But, I mean, the team did a fantastic job, and it was a very special lap.
And how representative do you think that's going to be of your pace tomorrow on obviously race tyres, race fuel, a whole different ball game?
It is a different ball game, and you know, the thing is, I think we're going to be competitive for sure, but now we're starting at the front. It should be quite good.
Well, the checker flag has been waved. We've just learnt, Nigel, you're on pole position with a fantastic, most dominant performance probably for a long time. Well done.
Well, I tell you, it's sensational. We got it in the 7s in practice, the 7.4. I think it's the quickest ever time, which is a compliment to Ferrari.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nigel.
Yes, Nigel Mansell's pole position, the 14th of his career and the second in succession, was 1 minute 7.428, which is faster than the fastest lap he made in the tyre tests at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago. Ayrton Senna on the front row, though, and he's got tremendous power in that Honda engine. Berger is third on the grid. Both Senna and Berger failed to improve on yesterday's times. Then Thierry Boutsen is fourth on the grid. Alain Prost, for him, a disappointing fifth, and he was low in the grid in France. Jean Alesi in the Tyrrell, a brilliant sixth, ahead of Riccardo Patrese seventh, Eric Bernard eighth, Suzuki ninth, Capelli 10th, Piquet in 11th place, Satoru Nakajima in 12th position. So look down the caption and you will see that Martin Donnelly, very much a coming man in Formula One, in his Lotus Lamborghini is 14th, ahead this time of his teammate Derek Warwick, who is 16th. But one must say a rather disappointing situation for the Lotus team. And that's the completion of the grid down to 24th place, and you'll see that Barilla has managed to get in. James, altogether, in my opinion, a tremendously interesting and stimulating practice.
Yes, tremendous battle, and really, what brought it alive was the Mansell lap. That was a quite exceptional lap, and I think his celebrations we all enjoyed, and that was marvellous stuff. So Mansell, a very happy man. Still a lot of work to do for the race setup tomorrow. Remember the last couple of Grand Prix that the Ferrari has struggled to pass other cars. Their problem is straight line speed. They haven't got quite as much power in the race as some of the other teams, and they run plenty of wing. They'll be working on that for tomorrow, but I see a battle between both Ferraris and the McLarens as the main feature of the race, and I wouldn't like to pick a winner out of those four cars. I think that it's going to be the person who gets his setup and his tactics right on the day, and there's luck as well as judgment involved in that, and then who gets the lucky breaks at the right time in the race. It's going to be a very tight race, and I think there's going to be so little to choose between the top four, which is Mansell in the order of qualifying. Mansell, Senna, Berger, well, Boutsen as well will be in there, but I think Prost in 5th place will be more of a threat for the race, and I think those four will be fighting out for the win, with, of course, the two Williamses there in 4th and 7th places to pick up the pieces and watch for a good performance from Alesi. But I think Alesi, starting in 6th place, will probably be struggling on race tires. He's got a good qualifying tyre from Pirelli, but I think come the race it will be hard work for Jean Alesi tomorrow.
Well, Prost won in 1983, 85 and 89. Mansell won in 86 and 87. Senna won in 88. Is one of those men going to win tomorrow? The Foster's British Grand Prix here from Silverstone, where the weather forecast is as brilliant as it is today. Well, if you're not here, watch it on BBC television.
It is Mansell who is on the pole. Senna will start alongside him. Then it's Berger and Boutsen, Prost, Alesi, Petresi and Bernard. 9th is still Suzuki. He has finally been out in that Lamborghini powered car. 10th Capelli, 11th Piquet, then it's Nakajima, Nannini, Donnelly, Gugelmin up to 15th spot, Warwick, Caffey, Martini, Modena and Pirro. 21st Larini, then Alio, the Cesaris, Barilla, Alboreto on the back row of the grid with Tarquini, the 4 not in, Gruyard, Brabham, Leto and Wojtek. And after that record-breaking lap, Nigel and friend Greg Norman negotiating the traffic in the paddock, and the odd adoring fan. And there's number 1 fan, Roseanne Mansell. A quick kiss from her, and then Nigel off to a rather echoey media centre. Let's hear what he had to say.
We have a display on the car now that prints out our lap time, and this almost figures to be the happiest time certainly this year, and probably one of the most special laps in my whole career.
Well, I don't know about you, Andrew, but I reckon that last lap by Nigel Mansell must have put at least 10,000 on the gate for the race itself. He's on pole. Do you think he can go one better and win the race itself?
Well, I do. He's got a phenomenal record here at Silverstone, a couple of wins and then a couple of second places in the last 4 years. I reckon in this 1990 he's going to make it another victory.
Let's hope so. Well, you can see the race in full starting at 1:30 UK time, 2:30 in Europe. But for now, from John Watson, Andrew Marriott and myself, it's goodbye.